Eric, for inviting me to share my knowledge around our collaborations with schools. I'm going to screen here with you guys. And I will also, this PowerPoint is not, get out of this. This PowerPoint, it has like some great information, but more or less it's just my talking points of today's knowledge. And so you guys are all here about wanting to learn a little bit more about school collaborations, a little bit about me. So I've been with University of Missouri Extension, serving Platte County as a 4-H 4-H field specialist for about 4 years now. Or this is on fourth year. I've had about 6 years of after school program experience, about 5 years in the school experience as a para and a computer science teacher. And so I've kind of got to know the school district. My master's is in early childhood education. And so schools have definitely been kind of my backbone throughout my whole career.
I told him what I told him.
If you wouldn't mind, go ahead and mute your microphone too. That'd be great.
Yes, I'll be the rude person.
And
I'll mute everybody as I see them come on.
Okay, perfect. Thanks, Eric. So today I really want you guys to think about, I always like to start out with a statistic. Nearly 1 in 5 families have enrolled in the after school program or looking in different ways. And so with that, think about that, how much our families and our dynamics of our families have changed over not only just the last few years, but years in the past. So I was one of those lucky youth growing up that had mom in my household, be able to welcome me home for my first part of my lives, but probably from the age of 8 and up, my mom was working full time, and I feel that we have seen that more and more over the last decades. And I think we're going to see that more. And so we need to start thinking outside the box on how we're going to meet those needs and how are we going to reach those youth where they are today. And so some key elements that I have found just working with the school districts are knowing your audience, do your research. Don't be afraid to go up into the school district and say, hey, I'm new. I really, these are the great things that 4-H has to offer. This is great things that MU Extension has to offer. How can we adapt? How can we best serve you? Because that's what they're wanting to hear. They're wanting to see how they can implement. They're not wanting to start anything new. They're wanting to see how can we blend the programs together and gratefully. Also look up existing programs. Are there Project Lead the Way? Are there Code with Girls with Code? How can we partner up with other organizations to bring in a good quality program into our school districts? Look at school days off. A lot of them have no after school programs. A lot of them may have no care during school days off. And that would be a great opportunity for 4-H to come in and offer that to the parents, right? Create a MOU and establish a little day camps. We are starting to look at that here in Platte County of implementing that a little bit more. And then also one of the school districts I'll talk about a little bit later on today has PLT time. I'm not quite sure what PLT time is, but it is a time for high schoolers to be able to get with their clubs throughout the day for a half an hour. And it's, I think it's once a week on Wednesdays for half an hour. So like, those are awesome times to implement 4-H right in there. Feel free, I meant to mention this earlier. I'm trying to get back to our Zoom. If there's any comments or anything, I'm not able to see the text box right now, but Eric, feel free to jump in and say, hey, there's a question about that.
I will monitor the chat.
Thank you.
As we go on. Yep.
Awesome. I have found that sometimes it's not easy to set up meetings with administrators. Just because they're busy themselves, they're dealing with kids' behavior problems, they're they're talking with parents or things like that. So sometimes it's best to go to the school counselors and the school nurses. They know the program, excuse me, what the schools have to offer in and out. And so they are kind of your key piece and say, hey, is there something that you guys are currently doing and that you're not, that are needing more assistance to? Is there a lot of the schools teachers have to do continue education, and they do after school programs already, and so sometimes they're just looking for curriculum to do. And so like, how can we think about that? And so I really, through this conversation, I want you guys to think about that it's not our duty to step in and take over programs, and it's not our duty to come in and think about, oh my goodness, there's one more thing to add to my plate. But think about how can we collaborate and make that school teacher, make that school volunteer, just even a volunteer coming in and doing program in the school areas. And that is one thing to really think about. And I'll give you guys more examples on those. And that has really helped our program excel. Also present on basic 4-H. We all know that we're really strong in leadership and citizen engagement and service and hands-on learning. And so think about how can we enhance that when we're talking. If you have not seen it already, Sherry had created a wonderful marking tool for us around that area, to be able to talk and to be able to communicate with school personnel. So those are that's a great tool to take in with us when we have those conversations. Rely on our contacts, guys. We have contacts in every single school district that we serve. We have kids that are most of them, right? We can say most of them. So rely on those 4-H families and those school employees that are working there, or parents that may be working there, and say, hey, who's the good person to talk to? What clubs do you guys have? What area? And walk in with an idea. Sometimes it's not the greatest idea, but walk into being flexible is the biggest key. Show your face. If you're wanting to get into a school district, make sure that that you are make sure that you are there. Make sure that people know you. Make sure that, so I'm not going to say go to every single ball game there is, but or go to every single school board meeting or something like that, but just be there, be a face where people know who you are. Nothing else. Make sure that your 4-H families that are in the community clubs, make sure that they know who you are. And so they love to support you. They love to be able to support and add on to. And so I actually had, going back to relying on their contacts, I reached out to one of my 4-H parents that has helped me out through my camps. We've developed a really good, strong relationship, and said, hey, we're wanting to expand our 4-H program. We're really wanting to utilize our 4-H or in-school programs and after school. Where do we start in Park Hill School District? Park Hill School District is our biggest school district here in Kansas City. It has 12 elementary schools, I think 3 middle schools and 2 high schools. So those are a lot of kids, guys. I mean, a lot more than we can actually ever handle staff-wise. But so I need those volunteers. I need those school staff members to say, yes, I'll take this curriculum and run. Yeah, I'll fill out that demographic sheet, no problem. So in return, so think about that. And remember, number 7 is you can't do everything. So definitely rely on those volunteers, rely on those connections. Some ways that I really want to connect today is to kind of exhibit or share how do we connect it with our educate, connect, and create model that we have. Those are 3 big pieces that we just been adapted to the last years. So I really kind of want to touch bases with that, because I feel that even though we just submitted our plan, so think about this, you might have submitted in your plan, but you're not quite sure how to adapt it for the next year, right? So think about when we're educating, we're teaching and programming, but also when we recruit those volunteers, they're educating as well. They're utilizing our curricula, and they're also utilizing our evaluation tools. And so be sure to pull in those volunteers. Like, I really treat some of my volunteers as staff, depending on what area they are, because they're reaching the numbers that we want to reach. They're reaching the youth that we're wanting to reach, and they're making that impact. We may not be able to make that impact all the time like we hope to, but I feel that if we empower them and show them the things and tools we have, they're empowering other people as well. So utilize that, the 4-H curriculum and the evaluation tools as you develop this process. Also, ways to connect. So even though the Missouri After School Network, if you guys remember back in the fall when we talked about it at the fall conference, Beth had mentioned utilizing the All Things Missouri website, and it has a list of all the after school programs. So I feel when those after school programs, and this is just me talking, this is my ideas, when those after school programs, those schools that have those programs, they're the ones that are more likely are the ones that are going to be flexible, adaptable. They're used to the environment of needing things, but also look for the ones that don't have it, because they are also the ones that are needing. Because I'm working with North Platte School District, and I'll share a little bit more information about them soon, but they're the school district that don't have after school program. They're a school district that don't have any clubs that meet in the after school programming, or like after schools or anything like that, but they're the #1 school that says, yes, we want to incorporate you. We want to engage with you. So look at those schools, but don't put a barrier up automatically as well. So All Things Missouri is also on this slide as well. So definitely connect those resources that we have with those school districts. Are there any questions so far?
There are not, but I will say, backing up a little bit, I dropped a link in the chat box to the marketing materials you referenced.
Awesome. Thank you, Eric.
Mm-hmm.
So create. So how can we create utilizing our research and our acknowledgement, right, from the university? And so look at, so we have a lot of things. Do we need to create new curricula? Do we need to create a new program development? Are there 4-H, do we need to create a 4-H charter and getting them established or things like that? So think about how, what tools and curricula that meets well with them. So, we all utilize different curricula, but is there something out there that we can utilize that needs to be built? And so take that time to utilize, like, enhance your professional development. We all have that responsibility to grow in our professionalism. And so ask the schools to be your guinea pig and your pilot as you go forward. There's really nothing wrong with that, and have them be part of that team. And I think they would be more willing to be working with us and say, hey, we're developing this curricula and we really want to have a pilot. We want to know what the kids think. We want to know what the teachers think. Can you help us? And so definitely think about utilizing the Educate, Connect, and Create as you progress forward. And making your plan of how you're going to incorporate with the with schools. So I have some three different areas that real quickly that I kind of wanted to share, kind of how we're doing it and how it came about. Okay, and feel free to ask questions as we go through this, because that's what I'm here for, and I want to provide you guys assistance on this topic, and I want to provide you guys a wealth of knowledge that you can walk out and you feel confident going into that school district and making that ask or making those connections. So one of the first one is our Healthy Habits program. It just started this last fall. It really started because of the National 4-H Healthy Habits grant. But I connected with the Family Consumer Science teacher there, Jackie Bertier. She is a good friend of mine, so there's a connection, right? We're looking for those connections. But I went to her and said, hey, we have this curriculum, we have these resources, we have this grant that offer you guys this. Will you guys do this? Would you want to do this with us? I literally went in to teach. I trained the teenagers, her class. There were 9 students, and she did the rest. She got them there. The kids created the whole layout. I helped them out with supplies because with the grant, but other than that, I got my demographics, I got my evaluation of the program, and we're all happy. The kids got educated about nutrition health. And so definitely think about that. Even local grants is a great opportunity for that. I'm going to check the chat here. It looks like
Laura, I'm watching it. If
okay.
maybe you'll talk about this later, but the idea about the MOU with your
MOUs.
schools.
Yep. Let me talk about that now, so I won't before I forget. So, I utilized a form that was already pre-created, and it was just these schools. We'll talk about the 4-H Council one here soon. The Character Council one. The MOUs, the Healthy Habits, I didn't create one just since it was such a short program. And it's probably something that I'm not more familiar with the MOU. I need to get better at that. Um, the but I have a form that I use, and I can share that with you guys via email later on. But the MOUs was just a very simple, basic, like I'll do this and they do that. If there's anybody on the call that has had experience with MOUs with schools, definitely feel free to jump in and share your experiences as well. So I don't have much to talk about that, Brad, and I'm sorry. But but the 4-H Character Council is a program that was developed. I was looking back over 15 years ago with my predecessor, Sharon Hunt, with the Platte County R3 school district. It is a anti-bully, building character in. It is a generational, like cross ages. It's with high schoolers teaching middle schoolers. And they have had, when I first came onto this, we were not getting demographics. We were not getting any free generation. It was a program that was just like, we were using curriculum that Sharon had created, but we had the contact. And so I'm like, I cannot let this program go because we had the contact and we have the relationship with the school. And so within those last 4 years that I've been in with Extension, we have assigned an MOU. We have we're getting demographics from all ages, high school and middle school. The high schoolers are getting enrolled as 4-H members. That was part of the Healthy Habits grant to be able to pay for those. We've got stronger relationships. The school districts are like, hey, well, I want to do this more. And so definitely, so it's taken me 4 years, guys, to get those relationships to where I need it. The demographics, the evaluations, all those components, if that makes sense. Because I feel that it took me so long because it was already a program that was already established. So if you take anything away from this, make sure that you have what you need from the get-go. Make sure that you have the demographics figured out. Make sure that you are the reporting component. Make sure that you have the MOU stated. Make sure that you have all those components and be upfront with them, because me coming right in and saying, this is not working for us anymore and we're going to terminate this because I don't have any of this, I felt was a little harsh for me to walk in right away. And so I felt like we needed some time to get it to where we need it. And thank goodness, it might have took a little bit longer than what we could have, but we had some staff overchange and things like that too. So I'm grateful to be able to say that there's a true 4-H program now in Platte County R3 School District. 4-H Snack in the North Platte School, Club, or the North Platte School District, I highlighted this a little bit last fall during our fall conference. I actually highlighted all 3 of these areas, but it was actually where our snack employees, and it's actually Caitlin, my YPA and PA, is overseeing this program now, and they found a science teacher that was willing to give up once a month for 2 hours. I think it's an hour, hour and a half. I think it's hour and a half. Our NPA and our YPA go in there together and they do programming together. They end up doing splitting the groups because it's 30 kids. And so they split the kids in 2 different groups. One group focuses on NPA, the nutrition program, and one does a youth program. And but they got all of them do so, and then they switch every 30 minutes, 30 minutes to 45 minutes. And so that is a model. If it's a little tricky, but they're able to develop that 4-H club. They were able to do this because we were able to take our curriculum and match it to the DESE standards, the learning standards. So I would highly suggest get familiar with those learning standards, get familiar with what they are. I should have had them linked here. But they're fairly, you can
Laura.
find them on the line, really easy, just DESE, Missouri DESE standards.
Right. And
Or learning
Laura,
standards.
may I
Yeah.
interject? Yes, I will find that. I was thinking of that myself. That is a
Yeah.
big selling point when
Yep.
you're talking to teachers. And if
Yep.
you have a teacher friend, or you've been a teacher, or you know somebody in your region who's been a teacher, get with them. They'll know how to annotate
Yep.
those on
Yep.
your curriculum. If you
Yep.
need help, you can reach out to me. I was a former teacher, and we'll kind of get you started. But I will find that link and drop it in.
My dad might be walking right in here soon. I'm hearing my mom and dad's, but I'm sorry, interruption. You may find that, so definitely echoing back what Eric had mentioned is finding that teacher friend, and be able to sit down and say, and this is the curriculum in our computer science, and this is how we connect it to our 4-H, and this is how we connect with everything. We have those things. It's just not diligently enough that it's in our curriculum. If that makes sense. And that's what they want to hear. They want to, because I have found the teachers are they're needing that to prove that for their administrators. And so if we're able to help them out with that next step, it makes their life so much easier. And that's what we're here for. We're here to make their life easier and incorporating our programming with them. And so definitely remember to think outside the box today, and make sure to reach out to your colleagues that are, your colleagues as their volunteers. They're saying, hey, how do we work in your school district? Is it a 4-H parent to saying, hey, what is in that school district? How can we connect? We want to do more. Host open houses, just be that face, be that familiar face in that school district, and your programs will prosper. They will grow. They will grow, and just do the things we do best. Right? We do things, great things, and just don't be afraid to share them. So this is kind of wraps up my my share for the day. Are there any questions?
Yes, if you have a question, you can drop it in the chat box. You can unmute yourself. And I saw somebody unmute. You can unmute yourself and ask it. Drop it in the chat box, or go about it that way. So I had a question for you.
Yeah.
Laura, you said you look at your teachers. Do you count them in your numbers as volunteers?
Yes. And so it actually is best for them to, I feel like, even though they don't need that background check,
Right.
It's best for them to understand, depending on where they are, because so I definitely encourage them to go on our 4-H online and sign up as a volunteer and do the training, because in that way, even though that they have the 4-H experience, they get that acknowledgement of why we do things the way we do, if that makes sense, and goes through the trainings. I do, so I only have 2 right now that are leading for us, if that makes sense. I provide curriculum and they go, so they're technically almost like a project leader, if that makes sense in easing terms. So I'll have them go through the volunteer training, so then they know. Now, if I'm coming in and doing like if like Caitlin and our NPA is going in, Carrie, and they're not they're leading everything, they're doing everything. I they don't need that teacher doesn't need a background check, if that makes sense, or the volunteer components. So what project are those two teachers, Becky? I see your question, are leading. So Jackie Brotier at Northland or North, what is it? North Platte School District, sorry guys, is leading, taking the Kids in the Kitchen curriculum and leading that for her youth. The Character Council program, I still utilizing our curriculum that we utilized that Sharon had built many years ago. So it's not, I'm more welcome to share that with you guys. It is not peer reviewed. It's not things. So I am looking at adapting those. There's not very many curriculums out there. There is like the Marshall mentoring and things like that, but it's been hard to blend those two together with our program. So, so those are the projects. I enroll the Character Council kids in the leadership. They also get the YEA curriculum there. So we utilize that with the leadership, but the character components, I don't have a curriculum yet for that one, but I am looking. So hopefully, and that might be something we publish soon. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. That's a good question. So they are all doing them during school time, right? Mind blowing. But these programs can be we can take any of our curriculum and adapt them into the after school program fairly easy. So North Platte, it is during the healthy habits or during the school. It's actually during the high schoolers lunch period. And then they'd take it, and it worked out really well that it was a child development class that is doing this. The child development class is right next to a lunchtime, and so they have extended time, and then they go eat at the elementary school that is a shorter amount of time, and then they go teach, and then they ride the bus back. So that school district, actually all three schools are in a different town, and so there's a little transition difference, but that was a good thing. We are counting them as group enrollments. The elementary students, the high school students are getting full enrolled, if that makes sense. Dues are paid by a grant. If you have a farm bureau in your county or in your area, a Rotary and different things like that, different organizations like that, they love to empower youth to grow into leadership. And so those are two. If I have I have Farm Bureau local dollars that actually are going to camps right now, but if I didn't have healthy habits, I more likely would use my Farm Bureau, my United Way, or things like that funds. I don't have United Way, but if I had United Way, I would utilize those funds for those different types of programs, if that makes sense. But yeah, so the high schoolers are dues. Thank goodness for the Healthy Habits grant. But any of the high schoolers. Robin, I see your comment about that she works in the elementary school this fall with Healthy Rocks. Awesome. Drug and alcohol. Anti-bullying, yeah. There's a Marshall mentoring program is the curriculum right now that is, I don't know if it's peer reviewed or highly suggested. So we look at it more of like for Platte County and the Platte County we establish the programs to meet the needs of what our school districts want, right? And so is it creating the curriculum? Is it utilizing curriculum that we already have? It's kind of that mix. When Character Council was developed, to my understanding, it was developed to fit the need for that school district, and it was around building character. Sharon had created, it was a Think Gup, so it's being, are you being truthful? Are you being helpful? Are you being integrity, necessary, kind? GUP is the golden rule, universality, and publicity. And so those are things, and I can share that what we have created. I probably need to be working with Lapita and trying to figure out if it's potential of publishing or what's their thoughts. It's a lot of things that have been pulled from other curriculum, if that makes sense. But I'd be more than welcome to share with it for a short run. But I would highly suggest making sure that we do find those curriculums that are peer reviewed to implement. So yeah.
Laura, real quick.
Yeah.
I'm dropping in a link to our extension page on the Marshall Mentor
Awesome.
Program.
Good.
And then.
And it's a good program. It's a book based. It's a true story based. If you guys aren't familiar with it, it does come with a pretty a binder, a book to read, and things like that. I just haven't found it to fit well with the program that we are doing so far. But definitely look it out. And if you're already, if you're starting something new, definitely look into it. Utilize it. Thanks for linking it, Eric.
And then Robin had another question. I kind of jumped ahead of her.
Okay.
Okay, or maybe it's a statement. Yeah, she says, call me if you have any questions. She's gone through it. She's trained as a trainer. Super.
Good deal, Penny. Thank you for doing that.
Or Robin.
Helping out Robin.
Or Penny. I got you. I got you. All right, I read wrong.
So, yeah, it's okay. Yeah, thank you, Penny, for helping out Robin. That's great. I'm glad that you'll be able to connect. Are there any other questions? And like, feel free, like, there's no questions are stupid or like I'm an open book. I'm definitely an open book.
Yes, there's even an option to send a private question just to me, and I'll keep your name anonymous. I'll also point out, if you haven't had a chance to take the poll, I'll share that at the end of the presentation. So I do have a question then. I'm guessing, I want to repoint this out, that you do count those, you enter them as a group enrollment, I believe you said, those kids that are in the program.
So
that's super, yeah.
Yeah, so all of them are, and I have found that even going up, so we also worked with a teacher in West Platte School District, and this is something that Caitlin, my YPA, our YPA in Platte County, has done. They were doing a program around, it was actually their SAIL or their advanced kids, and they were implementing hydroponics. And I reached out to like Beth Rossa and a couple others and say, hey, have you guys used this? Is it good? Is it sound? Is it something that we want to implement? Would it be implement easy for elementary school, because it was actually rated for 6 through up. And so and it's easy, guys. We handed them the curriculum. Here's the curriculum. If you're going to utilize our curriculum, can you please send our demographics? And I hand them the group enrollment form to sign and to fill out. We get that back in. I put a date on my calendar to check bases with that teacher. Caitlin, like Caitlin and I both have, and to say, hey, how did it go? Was the reflection? What's going on? We can even, probably have the kids doing the common measures if it fits great. And so definitely think about utilizing our teachers as more of a volunteer base. It's a little bit different than what we think about in the community club model, but they're there, they're doing their things, they're empowering the youth, they're using our curriculum. Let's grab that data and let's turn them into group enrollments or however we can fit them in our system. So but be flexible, think outside the box. That is the big key about it. That it definitely has taken me a couple of years to think about that, but I'm so glad that I have, because it definitely has increased our enrollment and our touches and our impact throughout the last couple of years. So.
There's a question from Diane about, could the state office or a committee do the background work on the curriculum, how the curriculum meets the standards? I know some of that is going on, but that's absolutely a good idea. I can't speak for all, but I know, they
I'll
are
reach
working
out
on.
to that I will reach out to Beth. Rossa Edwards is actually overseeing a lot of the after school curriculum and partnership and resources. She's has a lot of effort into that right now. I think that is a really good idea. Um,
Hi, Laura. I'm on the call.
Hey, Beth.
Just on my phone only. I'll
Okay.
go over some of that stuff in our January
Good.
thing, our
Awesome.
January Zoom.
Good. Okay, that's great. And I think a lot of it is that when we market out there and we go out there, think about, so the school districts may have never even thought about partnering up with not 4-H or MU Extension. They maybe think about as MU Extension, like, yeah, you know, sharing with more youth development and things like that, but they may only have that mindset that 4-H is only the community club model. And so we're not only breaking those barriers when we reach out to the school districts and say, no, we can do this in school. Like, here's some curriculum. This is how it connects with your guys' standards. Like, let us know how we can best support you. What is ways that best support you? And when I talked with a principal last May, I'm like, hey, we have these curriculum. We love to be able to get in with school districts. What are some things that we can help you out with? And she goes, hey, there's teachers that after school programs that are meeting the first and second grade that they may need curriculum. I'm like, okay, let's check this out. It hasn't expanded anything that I would hope to be, but it definitely, it's worth the ask and worth having that open-mindedness as we progress forward and reaching more new audiences. So
Laura,
yeah.
A couple of things. I did find on the S drive there are 2 folders in the clubs and groups under 4-H for a sample MOU. So I dropped those
Great.
as
Oh,
2
perfect.
links. And then a question came up. Let's see. Oh, did you catch the one from Penny? Do you think meeting with a school
Oh, yeah.
board will be the best way to reach school without after school? Wait, do you think?
I would suggest actually starting lower. I would suggest if you know a friend, I would actually start more on a personal level. That is one thing with our snack program and any other programs that we've implemented so far is when we find that personal contact, that common person that's in that school district, it's helpful. So if you know someone on the school board, if you like, reach out to your 4-H families and say, hey, I noticed you're in this school district. I'm trying to get connected with the school district and see how we can best support you guys in our after school program and in our efforts and meeting new audiences. Is the school board the best way? Is it reaching out to the principals and things like that? I don't think it hurts to go to the school board and say, hey, can I be a guest speaker and showcase what we're doing, our new ways? I do definitely have a more willing to share with PowerPoint. I haven't gone to a school board, but I definitely have gone to a Rotary and a couple other community organizations. I'm more welcome to share those information with you. It has a lot of statistics and things like that in there. Right, Robin? So definitely, I would suggest actually starting with a personal contact if it's a teacher or things like that, getting them on board, getting them connected, and let them work through the principals and the superintendents and the school boards. Oh, PTO is also a great, you're right, Robin, it is. PTOs, they know the school, right? They're there to help support. So they may know some great resources that we can fill that void. But yeah, you're right. So and that's just find out what best works for you. If something's not working, keep on trying. It's something that definitely doesn't happen overnight. Don't get frustrated over it. Don't get too hard feelings over it. But I like do what you know best. And we'll get through meeting all new audiences together. So
Does not hurt to ask. The worst thing that'll happen is they say no.
right. Yeah.
Going back to one of the points you made early on, The idea about being visible, that's absolutely very important. Could be, with time constraints and everything else going on, one of the hardest things to accomplish, but it's probably one of the most important things to do. You'd rather be the one representing 4-H in the community than perhaps, other people you might have on the tip of your tongue.
Yep. And and it's also look at, so you may connection with, so you may have a parent out there that is in the PTO, they're a 4-H volunteer, they have a high influencer of the community, and just talking with them and letting them know the new visions of what you're trying to go with, and your visions of meeting new audiences or things like that, that actually may, and ask them to be open-minded as they see fit for that school district or that community. They may have some great ideas as well, if that makes sense.
It does. I'm looking for more questions. While we wait, I did share the results of the survey. We've got a gap, but that's okay. Other people are on other projects. But yeah, looks like a nice diverse audience. We still have time for questions. You can drop in the chat. You can unmute. And what I'll do after this is all done is I will send the recording out to everybody, along with the resources we've talked about. We've dropped links in the chat, and I'll get with Laura, and I can maybe get her copy of the MOU and send that along with the video link. All right, I'm not seeing questions. So I want to thank Laura for making time to talk to us today. Definitely something we're all interested in, increasing our numbers. A little work on the front side, but pays dividends on the back.
Absolutely. And thanks, Eric, for inviting me to share my knowledge. And definitely, if anybody has any questions or anything, or even throughout the year as you come up with things, just give me a holler, shoot me an email, give me a call. We'll be glad to help.
Very good. All right, everybody. Again, thank you, Laura, and everyone have a good rest of your day. Thank you for coming.